with the mounting pressure of scandals and liberal corruption being exposed. Justin Trudeau's been getting nervous. He's looking a little squirrely these days. What you're about to see here is some clips from the House of Commons. It was taken at the very end of the long session that went back and forth about the carbon tax, and Pierre Poilievre calling out Justin Trudeau for a carbon tax election. After the back and forths on that, which was a long exchange, which is the previous video, we've got this here where George Chahal, one of the corrupt liberals, he does one of these canned questions where like, oh, hey, Prime Minister, where are we at with the Ukraine situation? It allows Trudeau to bring up the situation. Oh, let me tell you, it's just so cheesy and stupid. And that's what you're about to see here. He brings up the Ukraine situation. Trudeau just pops his lid. It is absolutely wild. And you can see his passion for Ukraine really says a lot, especially regarding the carbon tax. Something's funny going on there, and I think the reason why Canada is in such bad shape, or tax dollars seem to be missing, I think Ukraine might be the place they're at. Let's check this out.
Mr. Speaker, Calgary in my home province of Alberta is home to tens of thousands of proud Ukrainian Canadians. Since Russia's illegal war in Ukraine, Canada's commitment towards Ukraine has never been stronger, and it is why our government introduced a modernized Canada-Ukraine free trade agreement that President Zelensky asked for to be there to help Ukraine rebuild after they defeat Russia. Shamefully, the Conservative Party did not want to accept Ukraine's reasonable request for assistance. Can the Prime Minister update this House on this crucial trade agreement?
This guy, first off, that's like the least passionate speech I've ever heard in my life. This is the guy, George, what's his name, Chahal? He went around in Calgary and door knocking, was stealing the pamphlets left by other parties. So he went, he stole all the Conservative and whatever NDP pamphlets that other door knockers left. Is this the kind of guy you want in government? This guy's an absolute fool. And this is just, I hate these where they, oh, Mr. Prime Minister, can you tell us how good we're doing? And then he's like, thank you for your advocacy and your strong leadership in your community. All this crap. It's just this brown-nosing garbage.
Mr. Speaker, after that Conservative leader turned his back on Ukrainians and forced his own caucus to do the same, he whipped his senators last night to vote against the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement that Ukraine asked for. Our Liberal caucus, including the member for Skyview, never backed down. Despite the Conservative Party's efforts to derail Ukraine's hopes to rebuilding after they win the war, the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement received royal assent last night. While Conservative politicians sell out to the Kremlin, we will stand with Ukraine.
That was so planted. I mean, he's got his whole script there. That guy, if you looked at his face at George Chahal or whatever, when he said that and he looked up, he's like, I did it, boss. I asked the question for you to queue up for you talking about Ukraine. This is just gross.
The $60 million Arrive scam is just the tip of the iceberg. We now learn that there are $5 million in additional fraud that has been identified by the Department of Public Procurement. And this is out of the $21 billion the Prime Minister is now spending on outside consultants, a 100% increase, and fully with the support of the NDP. Can the Prime Minister tell us how much of this $21 billion is fraud?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The situation is obviously unacceptable, which is why authorities are looking into this procurement process. Anyone who took advantage of our COVID response to save Canadian lives should face consequence. All federal contracts with these companies have been suspended as the investigation continues. But everyone in this House noticed how quickly he pivoted from a question on Ukraine. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, his members are ashamed of him for forcing him to vote against Ukrainian Canadians.
There's that poopy pants drama teacher Trudeau we all hate. Look at this face, man. Just this cheese bucket look. Oh, just gross. All these people are just disgusting human beings. You see Trudeau's pointing and yelling. still barking down here.
And I ask all members to please
He's yelling to someone, but I don't think he's yelling at Pierre.
order.
Fergus, man, no one respects you, dude.
I'd like to remind the
horribly
Prime Minister,
corrupt.
please, to make sure that questions and comments are directed through the chair.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister demonstrates once again he is a fake and he is a phony. Because he's a fake and
I'm going to remind the honourable Leader of the Opposition is a very experienced
Trudeau's
member
getting pissed.
of Parliament, and I know that he would understand that kind of a statement that directed to an individual would not be considered parliamentary. So I'll ask the honourable member to continue with this question.
the Prime Minister is a fake and a phony on this issue, just like on everything else. He sends...
Eric?
He didn't back down. He didn't apologize. He just called it as it is. He is. Trudeau's a big fake. Trudeau's sitting there pointing, barking. It's very rare that you see Trudeau actually break character. He's usually pretty good with just holding his drama class down, but he's losing it today.
The honourable member, again, is a very experienced member, and he knows that when the Speaker asks him to chastise us a little bit for the use of language which is not considered parliamentary, I'd ask him please to rephrase, with all those comments, rephrase the question without using those words.
Mr. Speaker, this is a Prime Minister who authorized the export of gas turbines to pump gas from Putin's economy into Europe to fund the war. He's someone who signed on to allow Russian detonators to blow up Ukrainians on the battlefield, and he's a pro-Russia energy policy to fund the Russian economy. We'll take no less.
He used that whole "we would take no lessons" thing that they always do.
That is pretty weak sauce from the Leader of the Opposition. The reality is, President Zelensky...
He just said weak sauce? What the heck?
The Opposition House Leader is asking members to be calm. I'm going to ask all House Leaders to please ask all of your members from all sides to be calm. So,
He's like, I have nothing to do with that.
The member from Dufferin-Caledon, please to hold on until he
This
has
is
the time
hilarious.
to speak. So, the Honourable Prime Minister, please.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is flailing in every way he can to try and divert the attention from the fact that his members voted against a request by President Zelensky himself to support a Canada-Ukraine free trade deal. The reality is, his constituents across the country feel betrayed by the Conservative Party voting against Ukraine.
The Ukrainians asked for us to give missiles that Conservatives support to Ukraine, not to give turbines and detonators to Russia, which is what he has done. He has failed Ukrainians abroad, and he's failed Canadians at home. Canadians are good and decent people. They don't have to live this way. They do not have to give up the things they used to take for granted, like affordable food and homes, all for the incompetence and ego of one man. He is not worth the cost or the corruption. Will he call a carbon tax election so Canadians can decide?
Mr. Speaker, notice how desperate he is to try and find any excuse he can to justify their voting against Ukraine. Suddenly, he's not talking about the price on pollution that Ukraine put in itself years ago. He's not using that as an excuse, even though that was all we heard as the justification for why they voted against Ukraine, voted against Ukrainian Canadians, voted against the reconstruction of Ukraine that we are committed to through a free trade agreement. He stood in this House and voted against Ukraine and is now trying to do anything he can to hide from it. He let down Ukraine, and that showed who he is.
Trudeau, if you want to rebuild Ukraine, use your own money, man. Stop using ours. It's an absolute disgrace. Well, there you have it. Ukraine, that really spiced up Trudeau. He was starting to get into full-on rage fits there. I think he's afraid of this Ukraine thing breaking apart, the carbon tax thing breaking apart, and him getting his little piggy bank situation sorted out. I think he's just laundering all our money over there, and he's cashing in for his retirement. Him and Zelensky and Freeland, I think it's just a trio. I think he's probably cut in some of those other liberals in some of the knowledge, Anita Nand, whatever, Sean Fraser, probably Wilkinson and a couple of those other guys. For them to all go along with him on all this nonsense, he probably said, hey, you guys can each get 5, 10, 15, 20 million each. I'm going to take 200 or 300 million. Freeland get 200, 300 million. I think that's what's going on here. No person in their right mind would be funneling this much of our money into other countries it's just, the whole thing is nonsense. When we have so many problems at home, why you would give even $1 to another country? There's countries all around the world that need help. Why is it just Ukraine? Because they're dealing with all that stuff with Russia right now? I mean, there's plenty of war-torn countries. Pick another one. How about that? Is that because you don't have a sneaky little piggy bank to stuff away our cash in? Is that why? Let's get real here, Trudeau. Your crap stinks. It stinks. We can smell it across Canada. Big thanks for everyone watching the videos here. There's been so many of you coming in. The viewers, the base support level is just unbelievable how my channel's grown so quickly. It's really helped pull me out of a very dark place just a few months ago, 4 months ago, when I had my livelihood destroyed. I had no one to back me up, and here we are. I'm on YouTube trying to provide as much value as I can, and you guys have just absolutely picked me up. We got to stay strong and push through these times. I thought that the amount of heat that was coming out of these sessions here was going to be more like 6 months down the road, but with the carbon tax looming, things are really blowing up. And just imagine, we have another carbon tax increase next year before we get Trudeau out months after that. So things are really going to get really spicy around here. This House of Commons session was really long. There's one extra section I didn't put in this video. I put it over on my second channel if you want to check that out. It's a back and forth on the crime that's going on in Canada. If you want to check it out, I'll link it up over there. If you want to check out merch, it's in the shelf or linked up down below, along with my Twitter and FB page. Stay warm, stay fed. I'll see you guys in the next one.